Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. We're currently living in some uncertain times, so I really wanted to go over with you what could possibly save your family in times of crisis. When things go sideways, whether that's the loss of a job, a natural disaster, being stuck in your house because of a blizzard, that could leave you stuck. It is so important that you have a stockpile of food in your house. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I do stockpile a lot of my food. I do a lot of canning and I have a lot set aside. Now, a couple of years ago that changed because we had anticipated possibly moving. So we had eaten through a lot of our stockpile. So what you're going to see now is what I am doing to rebuild that stockpile. When things happen in your family that could leave you without money or leave you stuck in your house, it is so important to be able to feed your family, to have the food available that you do not have to worry about. So I'm going to go through my pantries with you and show you what I have and what I'm putting aside and what I plan to put aside in the future, so that you can get an idea of what a good stockpile is for your prepper pantry. I'm going to start off here in my kitchen with my working pantry. So in here, this is where I keep my breads, my oats, breakfast cereals, sugars, coffees, that sort of thing, everyday use items. This is also where I keep a lot of snacks for the kids, such as nuts or granola bars, things like that. So these are the items that I will be using every day. So this is the pantry that I store them in, which is right in our kitchen beside my stove and my fridge. Up top, I have things more like treats like hot chocolate, some chips, and it's also where I keep a lot of our pasta. So we've got the majority of our pasta up here. This is a difficult cupboard to work with as it goes back deep and it's up high. So I kind of stack back in there a lot of my pastas. So that's my working closet. I'm going to take you over to more of my short-term closet so you can see what I have there. So this is the room where I used to have my entire pantry on this wall, and I had a whole stockpile of food here. Now, again, if you've been following me for a while, you do know that my mother lives in the second half of our house, and so it makes it getting down to the basement where our laundry used to be quite difficult. And so we decided to put in a laundry area here instead. So we ate through that stockpile of food, and instead we've done a renovation and put in laundry here. So it's made it so much easier to get that done for me, but it has taken up some of the space that I would use. Now, instead, we did utilize this space and we put up some extra cupboards that we had so that I could store a lot of my canning here. It's important to note that I don't have the quintessential one room, huge storage of food that is so prevalent on social media right now, where everybody just has a room of food. For me, I don't find that to be best practice, because in case of a disaster of any sort that could possibly ruin your room, a fire, a flood, things like that, you're losing your whole stockpile of food. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket. So I actually don't find that one room just for your stockpile to be best practice anyways. It's also not really attainable for a lot of people. Many people don't have room for one extra room just for food. So you have to be creative of where you're going to put your food, where you're going to stockpile it, and not having just one room dedicated to your preps is okay. And it's actually better. So I have my food all over the house in little areas. And that way, if something ever happened to one area, then I have other areas where I have a stockpile of food. Anyways, I will show you what I have in my cupboards here. This is where I keep my canning. Over the years, I have done a lot of canning. I've learned a lot of different recipes. I have a full canning playlist that I can link in the description in case you're interested to learn how to can. So I've got a lot of my salsas, my canned fruit, that sort of thing here, jams, jellies, syrups. I have some canned chickpeas that you saw me can on an earlier video. We've got some pickled beets and some more salsas here. And I do have a bunch of empty jars, as well as some broths and some pre-made meals that I made with you guys on my last video. Also in this room, I decided to put aside 2 different shelves strictly for short-term pantry items. So I've been stocking up a lot more on these, trying to put more aside, just because it is some uncertain times. We don't know what we're expecting in the future. So I wanted to make sure that I have a lot of food put aside for my family. So I've been stocking up on a lot of food that my family eats. So it's very, very important to make sure that your family eats the food that you're putting by. So for me, I'm doing a lot of soups, zoodles, canned fruit, as well as a lot of condiments and crackers here. And on this side, I have coffee, more pasta, oats. I have a lot of this ground flaxseed, and that's because my children are obsessed with a certain pancake recipe that I make, and it calls for that flaxseed. Got a lot of tomato ingredients, so diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato paste, as well as a lot of beans. I do a taco soup for my kids and they absolutely love it. So we do that about once a week, and it goes through a lot of beans and diced tomatoes. So I know you might look at that and think that I don't have a lot of protein put aside, besides some baby clams that I had over there, and that is true at the time being. I did just do some canned ready-made meals. My family does not like store-bought canned meats. So beef, chicken, whatever it is, they kind of gross us out. However, if I take the meat and can it myself, it's perfectly fine. So I intend on getting some meat. I'm waiting for a sale, and I'm going to put that meat aside. If you're looking for videos on how to can chicken, turkey, game meat, or beef, I do have them in my canning playlist. So I will be canning up a lot of different meats for our pantry to continue with stocking up. Paper products are also something you need to put aside for your family. So toilet paper is something we go through a lot of. So every other trip to the store, I make sure that I grab a big bag of these just so I can set it aside. Paper towels are also something you're going to want to put aside for your family. We all remember 2020 and how the toilet paper thing went. So making sure that you have a few extra bags just in case is always wise. And to touch base on the meat thing again, it's also incredibly helpful to learn how to hunt or fish. I have been teaching myself to hunt. I am hopefully going to be successful this year. I have been trying very hard, learning a lot, and practicing. So I am taking a decent amount of time this year, and I am going to invest that so I can hopefully fill our freezer with some deer and some bear. If you're looking to follow that journey, make sure you check out my other channel. It's called Grouse Ridge Off Grid. I will put the link in the description box. That channel discusses our off-grid cabin build in Northern Canada. So make sure you go and check it out. So this is another place where we do keep some extras of our food as well as our canning equipment. So we have some overflow of our canning on the top shelf here. Our next shelf is all of our extra herbs and spices as well as herbal teas. Down lower, we have some more jars, and I have purchased recently a lot of canning lids because, again, if we remember 2020, there was a significant drop in the availability of canning lids. So I made sure that I have lots for now. And then just extras like pasta, baking soda, some rice, and some extra canned soups. I'm also keeping a lot of salt on hand. It's great for preserving and for seasoning your food. On the bottom here, I have been trying to stock up on some freeze-dried meals. They are quite expensive, so that's not something I buy a lot of, but every now and again I'll purchase one just to have on hand. They're a great alternative and easy to prepare, and I make sure that they are full meals. And then the other one I have here is just some whole powdered milk. So I have a couple of those, and that's a great extra protein and fat source. You also may consider getting a generator, specifically a solar generator. We recently partnered with All Power's solar generator, and we absolutely love this generator. It's great for emergencies. Make sure you check out our upcoming video where we fully test and review this solar generator so that you know how well it works in real world situations. All right, lastly, I am in my basement. So here I have some excess canning again. The basement is good to keep canning in as long as you have a dehumidifier. When you have canned jars, even regular stored food, you're looking for a cool, dry, dark space. The basement is cool and dark, but not always dry. So having a dehumidifier down here to keep the dampness out is essential when you are storing food down here. So this is the last of my canned food that I do have down here, and I will rotate it up as I make room upstairs for this food. This is food that we don't go through quite as often as the other stuff. That's why it's been brought down here, like my grape juice. So the grape juice, nobody drinks it just straight. I'll typically make jello out of it, but I won't do it as often. So by the time that I get another grape harvest, we'll have finally got through all of this grape juice. On the bottom shelf here, I also recycled a lot of these amber glass jars that used to hold apple juice, and we've filled them with water. I know they're really dusty right now, but they are in my basement. So I have a lot of these, as well as some of these plastic jugs, but I don't prefer them. I'd prefer to keep the water in glass jars. So I'm hoping to collect some more of these. These plastic jugs are also incredibly helpful to keep water in. We have quite a few of them. You need 4 liters per person per day of water storage. So this is my long-term food storage. Not all of it, but some of it. So I've been buying a lot of bulk ingredients that can store to 25 to 30 years, getting Mylar bags and putting in some oxygen absorbers. So I have some rice here and lentils here. You'll notice that I do not have them in the 5-gallon buckets like everybody else does. Again, I used what I had. So I have these Rubbermaids. And so I put them in here. I can fit 2 in there. They're harder to transfer, but that's okay. And it's about keeping any rodents, mice, bugs, that sort of thing out of it. And that's what the Rubbermaid does. So if that's all you have, then that's okay. You don't have to go run out and get those 5-gallon buckets. So this is something, I do have a few of these, but I definitely want to be doing more of in the future, just to make sure that I have a good amount of food set by for my family that can last a long time. Another very important thing to have in your stockpile is medical goods. So I have an entire bin here, specifically of medical goods. I have a couple of medical kits, first aid kits. I have gloves. I have a bunch of hydrogen peroxide. And then besides that, I also have a lot of candles in here. I have a hand crank radio. I have an extra can opener because when, things hit the fan, you're going to want to be able to open those store-bought canned goods. And then on the off chance that you might need fresh water that you don't have stored, or your stored water has gone off, you can use aqua tabs. I also have in my backpacking gear, I have a water filter, but I don't want to just rely on one thing. So over in this area, flashlight and some more candles. Batteries are also something you're going to want to stock up on, especially if you have flashlights and the lanterns. So you're going to want to keep a variety of AA and AAA or whatever else your appliances and such need. If you have the space, then planting a garden, storing seeds, that sort of thing is also a wonderful prep. Learning how to garden means that you can turn 50 cents worth of seeds into a handful of vegetables. It is such an important skill and great whether you're prepping or not. If you have the room, we have a very large backyard, so we've been able to plant a whack load of apple trees, pear trees, peaches, plums, that sort of thing. We use every available space we can to be able to grow food. Planting trees is a bit of a long game prep, but once those trees grow, you get an absolute overabundance of food. So planting trees would be a big prep item for myself. Same with any fruit bushes. Raspberry bushes propagate like crazy and they give you so much fruit. Well, friends, thank you for coming for a tour of my prepper pantry. Make sure you tag along to see how I am stocking up this pantry more and more. If you are interested in any of my other prepping videos, I do have a playlist that I will link right here. Make sure you come back for that review of that solar generator. I will be putting that up next week. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you all next time.